Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Let's talk today about one of the most underrated laws in the universe, not a business strategy, not a sales tactic, but a law in the universe. And that law is the law of reciprocity. You give something and you get something back. You've heard it before, reciprocity. It's simple. It's pretty much everywhere. And I want to talk about it at a little bit deeper a level today. So in physics, it's Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So when you jump off the ground, you're pushing on the earth. The earth is pushing back on you with the exact same force, and that's how you move. A rocket works the exact same way. It shoots fuel out the back of the rocket. The force going backwards pushes the rocket forward. An octopus or a squid, they squirt water one way to move the other way. You literally cannot act on something without it acting back on you. That's physics. I'm not the scientist here. I'm not the physics expert, but I know enough that that's physics. It is non-negotiable 100% of the time. Now, here's why I'm talking about this, and here's where I think it gets interesting. The same principle, not quite as reliable, but close. The same principle runs through human behavior. You smile at somebody, most of the time they smile back. You hold the door from somebody, they usually say thank you. If you help somebody out, they remember it, and at some point they look for a chance to help you later. You cut somebody off in traffic, they flip you off. You show up selfishly in a relationship, you're going to get that selfishness back. So what you put out comes back. Maybe not from the same person, maybe not even the same day, but it eventually comes back. Now, evolutionary biologists actually think this is baked into us. In other words, it's hardwired into us. The humans who cooperated and helped each other were more likely to survive way, way, way back in the day. So the instinct to help somebody who helped you, that actually got passed down through thousands of years of evolution. Passed down generation after generation. In other words, it's in your DNA. So we are literally built to give back to people who give to us. Now let's, of course, tie this all into our business. Let's talk, since so many of you are in real estate, but obviously it applies everywhere. Let's talk real estate as an example. Real estate is one of the most reciprocal businesses on the planet. And for a lot of people in the business of real estate, they don't treat it that way. Let's just think about sales in general. For every lead or every referral, every client relationship, every vendor partner, all of it runs on reciprocity. So the salesperson who's always asking for referrals but never sending any, everybody sees that. And the team leader or the leader of the organization who takes from their people but never gives, watch how quickly that team falls apart. The business operator who is squeezing every vendor for every penny and then wonders, why nobody picks up when they really need a favor. You cannot take and take and take and expect the universe to keep giving. It just does not work that way. Again, physics will tell us that, but my past couple decades, I've seen it play out in real life, and I'm sure many of you have as well. Let me tell you about a guy I think most have probably never heard of. His name was Norman Bethune. Norman Bethune. He was a Canadian surgeon. He lived in the early 1900s. Really, really, really sharp guy. He could have had a comfortable career. He could have made a ton of money. He could have lived a pretty quiet life. But instead, he actually ran a free clinic in Montreal, and the free clinic was for the poor. once a week, no charge, this free clinic in Montreal. He went to Spain during the Civil War and he invented the world's first mobile blood transfusion unit. What he invented saved thousands of lives. And by the way, he made $0 off of it. Then this guy, Norman, goes to China and he modernized the Chinese medical system during a war. He trained doctors. He built hospitals in places that didn't have any. Now, Norman Bethune died at 49. I can't remember exactly what he received, or what he caught, but he caught it while operating on a soldier. And here's the thing about Norman. He didn't do any of it for money. He certainly didn't do it for fame. He was written out of Canadian history for decades because of his political beliefs. So the question then is, was it worth it? And I think it depends a great deal on how you measure that worth. If you measure it in terms of dollars, then no, it was not worth it, given what Norman's course life path looked like. If you measure in what he gave and what came back, he actually got something most people never get. See, what Norman got was meaning and purpose, and the feeling at the end of each day that he was using his life for something that mattered. See, studies on people who volunteer show the same sort of thing over and over again. People that volunteer have better mental health, they have better physical health, they live longer lives, they have more satisfaction. So when you give, you do get. It's just not always in the currency that you might expect. So let's make this a bit more practical for our No Days Off Nation. There are two types of reciprocity. There's direct reciprocity, which is I help you and you help me. So it's a straight trade. And then there's indirect reciprocity, which is I help you, you help somebody else. Or I build a reputation as a helper, and somewhere down the line, somebody I've never even met helps me because of who I am. See, most people have a tendency to only play the direct game, a quid pro quo, right? Favor for favor. The people, though, who win long-term play the indirect game. They give, they help, they show up, they don't keep score. And I don't know if you believe in this sort of thing, but I do believe the universe keeps score for them. Here's what I've seen happen in business over the years. The top business people and entrepreneurs I know, the ones who have been at it for 2 decades or 3 decades, and they're still crushing it, and they're still happy, and they're still surrounded by great people, they all have one thing in common, and that is that they give first. They introduce people without being asked. They send a referral. They give the advice. They make the connection. They pick up the phone. They give expecting nothing in return. And over years and years and years, they build this almost, I guess I'll call it invisible bank account. And this invisible bank account, it's bigger than anything that's on their actual balance sheet in true currency. When they need something, people have a tendency to show up because they showed up first. And they showed up for a long time, and they did so without keeping score. You know, Confucius, who knows a few things, there's a great quote from Confucius that I think does a good job summing this whole thing up. One of his students asked him, is there one word you can live your whole life by? And he said reciprocity. What you don't want done to yourself, don't do to others. That was 2,500 years ago. It's the same principle that we're talking about right now, and it has not changed. So here's what I want to challenge you to do today and this week. I want to challenge you to, let's say, run with 3 givebacks is what I'm going to call it. In other words, no expectation of anything in return. Give three things and expect nothing in return. Number 1, give a referral. Send business to somebody you respect. Maybe it's a lender or an attorney or a vendor or whatever it may be. Somebody in your world who does good work. send a referral. Number 2, send a piece of value. What do I mean when I say a piece of value in terms of giving? Give a piece of value, teach somebody something, or maybe share a process or send a resource. Help another business owner with something you've already figured out. And then number 3, in terms of your givebacks, give a thank you. Pick somebody who's helped you at some point this year and actually tell them, be it a call, a text, a handwritten note, whatever. Just acknowledge it. So 3 this week: a referral, a piece of value, and a thank you. And don't track who owes you. Don't expect anything back. Just put it out there. Because what you put out almost always comes back. And maybe it doesn't come back today, and maybe it doesn't come back from the person that you gave to, but it does come back. And that's physics, and it's people, and it's DNA, and it's the law of how this works. That's all I have for you today. The No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.